HAGANE, Life Goes On, the new EP mini album thing. We've been doing a track by track of this. Now, we already did the title track first, which is the last track on the album. Then we did the intro, plus what turned out to be the lead single. Basically, look, we're onto Hero Time now. That's all. We're on to track 3, Hero Time, on a track by track listen through, where we have to acknowledge that we've already done the last track already. Anyway, look, I've been told this one's a really good one. So far, I'm really interested by hearing this new direction for HAGANE, obviously with a very new lineup as well. I get the feeling that I feel like they've really hit the ground running with this new sound. And it does feel like that it's a sound that other bands are doing. It's a very popular sound right now, but they really do just feel very much like a sort of fish in water with this. It's been a really high energy, but also a really concise sounding EP so far. The 2 full-length tracks, at least, that we've covered, both felt like they had a really good arrangement. They were purposeful. They were long, but they didn't feel like they were just sort of outstaying their welcome. So a big sort of extravagant feel for this album, but yeah, much tighter than the previous form of HAGANE. And like I said before, one of my biggest issues with HAGANE before they went away and came back was they would write these really good songs that would just sort of sound lost, and like the arrangements didn't feel, they felt like they got wishy-washy around the middle. This feels much more like a band who know and have energy in their songs that carries from start to end. So anyway, look, there we go. That's how I feel about HAGANE. I'm enjoying this track by track listen through. I've been told Hero Time's a really good song, so I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit about that myself as we press play. Shall we get on with it? Let's get on with it. Oh, by the way, I know that there was a music video that came out a couple of days ago for one of the tracks we already covered, like the lead single, sorry. But yeah, I covered that already on one of my Twitch streams, so sorry. Anyway, should we dive in this one? Let's get on with it. Talking of getting on with it. All right. It's certainly embracing that sort of thrashy sort of metal feel. Really thumping. You're getting a lot of like energy from the kick in this. The whole bottom end of this is really tight. Okay, interesting. I feel like we're still in the build-up. This bit's cool. I get the feeling you can hear the melody starting to build up through this bit. I feel like we're waiting for a big refrain to kick in though. Nice, building up. So this is kind of like the refrain, okay. That's a really cool. I love when they do those sort of like dual guitar solos. That harmonizing is really lovely. Nice! That is some epic arpeggio. I'm kind of liking that shouted refrain more. Now I hear it with the... This is a good bridge. This is one of those songs where as it goes on, it starts to fall into place. You know, you hear how they're using that shouted refrain. It's kind of like to break up and reset each time round. The song is making more and more sense. I do think this is one of those ones with re-listens that we'd enjoy more and more because I can already hear. It takes a moment for it to make sense, but yeah. Nice long cadence to finish it off. Well, not a cadence, you know what I mean. Anyway, okay, that was really throwing everything at the wall. So basically, I'll jump in first and say that there was a lot of things about that were really quite epic. Interestingly enough, this seemed to me, I mentioned a moment ago about the fact that, as I said before, some of my issues with earlier Hagane were the fact that some of the songs felt a bit wishy-washy in the bridge. One of the ones I keep on going back to is Supervillain, which I know a lot of people liked, and I think that's got some really good bits, but the bridge just sounds like it meanders around and then flops into the final chorus, and I was never a big fan of that. This seems like a perfect remedy for that, in that this feels like all of the ideas where previous Hagane would have just layered up all of those guitar solos and the song bridge and everything and just made it into one long bridge that meandered around. Here it just felt like they took each one of their ideas and they split it up with that da 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 sort of like shouted refrain. And it was like the refrain was just like a very quick sort of bit to shout along, reset, and then here's the next idea. Shout along, reset, here's the next idea. I thought that was a really cool way of doing it. From an arrangement perspective, that was really interesting. I did like that. I thought it was, I felt the song was structurally quite unique and different from the other two tracks we've heard so far. Obviously we heard the intro as well, but the other two full-length tracks we've heard so far on this album, this was quite structurally different. It was obviously very like aggressive, high energy, which is great as well. Melody, again, beautiful melody. I'm loving the singer's voice. She's got a great voice. The guitar work, you know, it is very much stereotypical of the style. Lots of arpeggios, lots of those harmonizing guitars and things, but it's cool. You know, it's in the style, but it's done really well. It's easy to follow along to, but you can still appreciate the skill without feeling like you're just listening to someone twiddling for the sake of it. I am going to draw attention to maybe the one thing that I don't know, it kind of worked, but it didn't work for me. And this is where I got to be a bit careful because I know I got to address the good and the bad about this. I know already that, especially since Hagane have come back, that there are a lot of diehard Junna fans. And you know what? Junna is, in my opinion, one of the most technically brilliant drummers I've heard in a long time. But I've got to say that I've said this before. I think that skill-wise, she is unquestionable. But I sometimes do question more the drum lines that she writes for songs. This, to me, I think this was slightly unfairly biased by the fact that the mix kind of did some weird things. Like the bottom end was very solid. There was a lot of kick, but there was also a lot of like that thing that they tend to do when there's a lot of double kick in a tune where they do like a slightly higher EQ on the kick drum. And the idea is therefore, so instead of it just sounding like a indistinct blur of just like wobbling bass noises, you get like the actual impact of each kick drum by EQing it up and having the kick drum a little bit more present in the mid-range. I get that, but the end result was that and I get as well, I got the really fast bits, I understood how they did that, especially in the shouted bit, I got it, but it just sounded a bit messy in places, you know, where I felt it was supposed to be building up the energy. Instead, it just felt like a little bit, it felt like it was sapping energy by just kind of like, just sounding like a bit of a mess. So, it's weird, like the double kick drums occasionally work, but there were just bits where it was just, it felt like it just felt like kind of like sinking sand, like it was actually not really energizing the song so much as just sounding like the song was falling apart in those little bits. So I don't know, yeah, some of the, I'd say about 75% of the drum lines were really good, and then there was just little bits where it just sounded a little bit too much like a bit of a mess. I know there's a lot of Jenna fans who are probably going to be angry. Look, I'm just being honest. I always said this. I'm honest on this channel. I say what I think, even if it gets a lot of hate. But you know, yeah, I felt the drum line could have been a little bit better organized. But yeah, fair enough. You know, there were still some really great bits in the drums. Overall, though, I did really enjoy this song. No doubt about Jenna's technical ability, very much on display, very much on display. I think this is a song that was trying to do some interesting things, and in trying to do some interesting things, I mean, I would always much rather have a song that tries to do interesting things and had a couple of little bits where it didn't quite click than a song that was just lazy and complacent and did something we'd heard a million times before. This, to me, was a song that tried to be brave, tried to do some interesting things, and for the best part, it worked. Certainly as an album track, you know, I mean, if you're putting something on, even on a mini album, if you're doing album tracks, you know, ones that are not singles, then why not? That's the perfect place to experiment. So for me, this is exactly what I wanted to hear from this kind of album. Little bits of experimentation in there that make it interesting, that show this is a band who've got ideas, who are not just recycling what other bands do. They seem to have certainly grabbed the horns of this one in regards to this sort of metal sound that is so popular right now, but they're adding their own flavor to it, and these little songs are showing that. And I think this was really interesting. Just again, that whole way that it went back, it had that refrain, it threw in little ideas along the way. It was refreshing. I enjoyed it. Definitely comes off the back of a really solid single as well. I can't wait to hear what's next. Let's see, I've got the track list up here as well, haven't I? I prepared for that. So actually, yeah, the only track we got left to do is DAT, D-A-T-T. Wow, in a weird way, we've already heard like 80% of the album. It's weird to think that, but yeah. Anyway, this has been really good. I've really enjoyed this. It's great to hear HAGANE back, and I do this version of HAGANE is the best version of HAGANE in my opinion. Sorry, purists and old school fans, but this is I think this version of HAGANE, they've really seemed to be clicking. Yeah, they got ideas and they seem to be working, and it seems to be. It feels like a bit more of a team effort, if you know what I mean. I don't know if that's true. It's just maybe how it feels to me. Anyway, get in the comments. Tell me what you think as always. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hatred as well. Tell me what you think. Get in the comments. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.